Our text for this morning comes from the book of Job, Job 17. The 17th chapter of Job, we find these words, reading from the New Living Translation. This is Job speaking. My spirit is crushed. My life is nearly snuffed out. The grave is ready to receive me. I am surrounded by mockers. I watch how bitterly they taunt me. You must defend my innocence, O God, since no one else will stand up for me. You have closed their minds to understanding, but do not let them triumph. They betray their friends for their own advantage, so let their children faint with hunger. God has made a mockery of me among the people. He spit in my face, my eyes are swollen with weeping, and I am but a shadow of my former self. The virtuous are horrified when they see me. The innocent rise up against the ungodly. The righteous keep moving forward, and those with clean hands become stronger and stronger. As for all of you, come back with a better argument, though I still won't find a wise man among you. My days are over. My hopes have disappeared. My heart's desires are broken. These men say that night is day. They claim that the darkness is light. What if I go to the grave and make my bed in darkness? What if I call the grave my father and the maggot my mother or my sister? Where then is my hope? Can anyone find it? No. My hope will go down with me to the grave. We will rest together in the dust. Thus far, the word of the Lord. Where then is my hope? Can anyone find it? I want to preach today from the subject, can anybody see hope? Can anybody see hope? If there was one word to describe the experience of many in our nation this past week, it would be that of devastation. Climatic forces beyond anyone's control have wreaked havoc from coast to coast. After hitting the Gulf states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, producing massive flooding, destroying property, and leaving over 1.5 million people without power, Hurricane Ida made her way up the mid-Atlantic and hit the Northeast, producing flooding as far north as Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. There are over 50 deaths in the Northeast alone, and concurrently, the Caldor and Dixie wildfires in California burned over 1 million acres, destroying 554 homes and 12 commercial properties as of this past Wednesday. The creation continues to groan for the redemption of God. Nature itself seems to exemplify the fallen state, and we are made to come to even more of a conclusion that global warming is having an effect on our world, certainly upon the land in which we live. The experience of devastation by that which is outside of our control has not been limited to the Gulf states, the Northeast, and California. It has come closer to home in the cruel and tragic road rage shooting death of Carlton Victor Cartier. which has robbed Bernadine Cartier of a son, Claire and Alex McDonald of a brother and brother-in-law, and so many others of a beloved friend, colleague, and member. And what we come to realize is that all of us are prone to the experience of devastation by factors and forces outside of our control. We are all susceptible to unforeseen and undeserved tragedy and trauma that rips us apart. In such times, it is difficult to see the way past, the way through, to see the way beyond, to see the way out, because all that you can see is the devastation, the destruction, the wreckage, and the rubble. All that you can see is your world broken into millions of disconnected fragments whose patterns cannot be discerned. And you feel like the truth spoken in that old nursery rhyme, all the king's horses, all the king's men can't put you back together again. This is where Job is at the point of our text. The span of 2 swift strokes by the hand of Satan himself. Job has lost everything that he counted dear without warning and seemingly without any discernible reason. We readers are given a prologue to Job's experience, which Job himself never receives. We see his life. We see the goings-on in his life. We see the unfolding drama of his life from a frame that Job is never provided. Job is left to make meaning without the benefit of the frame that we are given as readers. My brothers and sisters, such is the case for all of us. The episodes of our lives are played out within the context of a larger frame that so often we are not given. Before we are hit by a hurricane, before we are hit by a wildfire, before we are hit by an unexpected and undeserved death, nobody sends us a text of a conversation that goes on up in heaven. We are not given the frame, we just get the pieces. The journey of faith is the living within those moments of trying to find and make meaning. Viktor Frankl spoke of this in his work, Man in the Search of Meaning, having suffered the atrocity of the Holocaust. He looked at those who survived and discovered that those who did survive the best were those who were able to find or make meaning in the midst of the tragic, in the midst of the horrific, in the midst of the senseless. Those who were able to find or make meaning survived better. And so often in life, when these circumstances come our way, the journey of faith is living within these moments, trying to find and trying to make some meaning. It prompts certain questions within us. We hear that from Job in this passage saying, what if I go to the grave and make my bed in darkness? What if I call the grave my father and the maggot my mother or my sister? What then is my hope? Can anyone find it? As Job attempts to discern the meaning and to stand against the onslaught of tragedy that came his way, he raises this concern in the midst. There are people who assign blame to him, and we the readers are privileged to know the goings on in heaven that have brought this about earth, and neither Job nor his friends have such a privilege. Looking at the devastation that has become his life, Job raises the question, who can see hope for me? What a haunting question. surrounded by the critical and skeptical, experiencing the worst that life can offer, Job wants to know, can anybody see any hope? Friends, there are indeed times and seasons where you are beset by such a range of circumstances that you can't see your way through. And you wonder, can anybody see hope? Is there anyone who can see for you what you can't see for yourself? Can anyone look at the disjointed, the jumbled, the broken that has become your life and see anything more, anything better? Can anybody look at the dismal and despairing and anticipate the good and beneficial? Can anybody see hope? Can mama or daddy see hope? Can husband or wife see hope? Can sister or brother see hope? Can best friend, can road dog see hope? Can prayer partner, can a pastor, can anybody see hope? The grave being all that Job can see, all that Job can anticipate. Job wonders if anybody can anticipate something different for him. Anybody been there? Have there been instances when you couldn't see the good and wondered if there was anybody who could see it for you? When you couldn't see being happy, when you couldn't see light coming, and you wondered if anybody could see hope on your behalf? When you couldn't see laughing again or loving again or even getting out of bed, could anybody see it on your behalf? Part of what I believe that Job's story reveals is that the ground of Christian hope is not in what is seen by the eye, but what is held in the heart. Hope is not something that you see. Hope is something that you have. Or more importantly, hope is something that has you. Hope is not what we hold. Hope is what holds us. And what holds the Christian is the belief in God that takes you beyond what is seen. You see, friends, we are not held by what is seen. We are held by what is unseen. It is on God. The Apostle Paul reminds us in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 that we look not at the things which are seen, which are temporal, but on the things which are unseen, which are eternal. In the midst of devastation, of things being torn apart, of things falling apart, of things being taken away, Christian hope holds you by being grounded in God, being much more than what is. God being much more than what is. You see, Job's despair was in response to what Job lost. He lost his children, lost his crops, lost his livestock, lost his servants, lost his health, and yes, lost his marriage. He lost his reputation. He lost his place. He lost his position in society. He lost what folk would say. He lost everything. And in losing them, he discovered the transitory nature of all of them. As important, as significant, as emotionally tied that he was to them, they held no permanence. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. The statement that he makes at the end of chapter 1, naked came I into this world, and naked I shall return, was a stark recognition that he had none of what he lost at birth and would not be taking any with him at his death. But the two words that follow are crucial. Naked came I into this world from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. But then the next two words are the Lord. Yeah, Lord have mercy. And with all that he lost, there was still the Lord. The Lord, the I am that I am, the I am who I was, and the I will be who I am. That God still is. The Lord was when he came from his mother's womb, and the Lord will be when he returns. The Lord. It is the Lord, he says, to whom he can look, upon whom he can call, because the Lord still is. And with all that he lost, the Lord still is, which means that the Lord is more. The Lord is more than what he lost. Later on, he would say, I know that my Redeemer lives. He shall stand at the latter day. And though after skin worms have destroyed this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God. Even when he has to give up the ghost and die, he recognizes the Lord still will be. He is more than what he lost. Friends, hope holds us in the midst of devastating loss by being grounded in the Lord being more than what we lost. He who he is before the loss. He is who he is with the lost. And he is who he is after the loss. He is the God who provides. He is the God who heals. He is the God who delivers. He is the God who saves. He is the God who is when all else fails. The Lord is the God who lives. The Lord is the God who is. Hope holds you by being grounded in the fact that God is more than what is. He's more than the loss. He's more than the wreckage. He's more than the rubble. He's more than the devastation. But there's something else about this hope that holds us. Hope in God grounds you in God knowing more than what is. God knowing more than what is. The book of Job begins by framing what is to come as the result of a conversation between God and Satan, where God presents Satan with an opportunity. The opportunity is access to wreak havoc in Job's life. That's the opportunity, to wreak havoc in Job's life. With Satan having made the assertion that Job does not serve God for nothing, that Job serves God for the things that God has provided, God gives Satan access to attack that, to create havoc, to wreak some upheaval, to bring some devastation into Job's life. He has the opportunity. And again, we the readers are given this information of Satan having access, having opportunity, having permission, having sway, with a line drawn in the sand, with God saying, you cannot take his life. Nobody in Job's story is provided what we read. Job is not given it. His wife is not given it. The friends who falsely accuse him are not given it. And while Satan is given the opportunity of access to attack Job, God preserves God's outcome and purpose to himself. You see, you really have to really read this and read it slowly to get a sense of this. Because the story opens, the sons of God are bringing their report to God, and Satan is there, and God asks Satan, well, what you've been doing, and Satan says, I've been going throughout the world looking who I can mess with, looking what I can mess up, and Satan does not mention Job. God mentions Job. God says, have you thought about my man Job? Which means that Satan, in this instance, did not ask for Job. When you read in the New Testament, Jesus warns Simon Peter, Satan hath desired to have you, that he might sift you as wheat. In that instance, Satan asked for permission to go after a specific person, Simon Peter. But in this instance, he's not asking for Job. God mentions Job. And by God mentioning Job, what God is alerting the reader to understand is what's going to roll out is not under the outcome and aegis of Satan himself. No. God says, I got this from beginning to end. And God has an outcome and a purpose that is only known to God. Satan has access. He's got opportunity, but he has no knowledge of the outcome. He has no awareness of the fact that he's a bit player in a bigger drama. That he's a subcontractor in a larger work that God is seeking to perform and fulfill. And throughout the book, Job tries to get clarity around the rhyme and reason for what he's experienced and for what he now sees. It's later in the book that Job lays hold of the reality of God knowing more than what is. Job would later say in chapter 23, verses 3 through 10, oh, that I knew where I might find him. That I might come to his seat, I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would know the words which he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in his great power? No, but he would take note of me. There the upright could reason with him, and I would be delivered forever from my judge. Look, I go forward, but he's not there. And backward, I cannot perceive him. When he works on the left hand, I cannot behold him. When he turns to the right hand, I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take. And when he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. Do you see it? With Job claiming the grave, hope holds him long enough to get to chapter 23. Hope holds him long enough for him to affirm that God knows more than what Job sees. God knows the way that Job should take. God knows an outcome. God knows an end that is unknown to everybody but God. And then beginning in chapter 38, God would reveal the surpassing extent of his knowledge by giving Job a pop quiz. Tell me if you know. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Can you tell me the number of stars that are in the circuit of heaven? God reveals his surpassing excellent knowledge. Hope in God holds you by grounding you in knowing God knows more than what is. When all that you know is what is, and when all that you know is what has been reduced to fragments with no pattern, no rhyme, no reason, hope holds you with the knowledge that God knows more than what is. God knows more than the you in what is, the you in your sorrow, the you in your despair, the you in your brokenness, the you in your confusion. God knows the you whom he sees beyond what is, beyond the brokenness, beyond the grief, beyond the despair, beyond the confusion, beyond the disillusionment. He knows the way that you should go. He knows the way that you should take. He knows the way that you should pursue. He knows the way that you should receive when you don't even know what to do, which way to take. God knows the way that you should take. God knows what you should do. God knows how you should respond. God knows what his outcome is, and God knows what it takes for the fulfillment of the outcome to be seen and fulfilled. And therefore, my friends, hope for life and hope in life is not based on your knowledge beyond what you see. It's based on God's knowledge beyond what you see. It is grounded in the affirmation, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, neither has it entered into the heart of anyone what good things the Lord has prepared for those that love him. Hope holds you secure in the certainty that your life is not being in what you know, but your life is in what God knows. God knows the what, God knows the how, God knows the why, God knows the who, God knows the when, God knows the where. God knows it all. And I know I'm talking to somebody who can testify that your life was in a despondent condition because you didn't know how. You didn't know where. You didn't know when. You didn't know who. But you did not give up because you were held by a God. A God who knew what, a God who knew why, a God who knew when, a God who knew how, a God who knew where, a God who knew it all. Hope holds you that the God who has your life, and your life is not moving as if it is by randomness. Your life is a purposeful life. The Lord who saw you while you were yet in your mother's womb has known every day that your life would have. And he is not caught off guard by anything that happens. He has a knowledge that far surpasses yours. And he knows how you're going to be. He knows who you're going to be. He knows where you're going to go. If you were paying attention to that last quote of Job's, Job didn't just speak of God's knowledge in terms of awareness, but he also spoke of God's knowledge in terms of purpose. Listen again. He knows the way that I should take. And when he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. You see, friends, hope in God holds you in times of devastation by grounding you not just in God being more than what is and God knowing more than what is, but also in God having more in mind than what is. With all of the loss, with all of the devastation that Job has experienced, something within Job tells him what is can't be all that there is. There's got to be something more than what is. His life with God must be more than what is. God's purpose for his life has to be more than what he's seeing then. And it is his hope that prompts him to declare that God has more in mind by saying that when God has tried him, he shall come forth. Wait. It's Satan who has attacked him. And even though he has not had the benefit of the prologue that we got in the beginning, his faith kicks in. His faith kicks in and causes him to say, this just cannot be the activity of randomness. God must be up to something. God's got to have something more in mind when God has tried me. What is not empty. What is not meaningless. He's being tried. He says, I'm being tried. He's in a process of refinement. I'm being sifted. I'm being stripped. I'm being improved. I'm being purified. I understand that my life is still in a process where I've not reached the standard that God has for my life. I recognize God has a gold standard for me. And I recognize that God is not satisfied with seeing silver in my life. God wants to see the gold that he knows that I am. God has more in mind for my purpose. God has more in mind for my term of days. Did you hear him? When he's tried me, he says, I shall come forth as gold. He says, this process will not end him. He will come forth. He will proceed. That's why you got to read every word in the word. He will come forth. He will proceed. He will survive. This is not the end for him, as hurtful, as painful, as confusing, as destructive as it may be. Job says, this is not the end. Job says, he will come forth. Job says, I got more days ahead of me. Who he is, and more importantly, who he is to become, will come forth. The Job that God purposes will emerge. He will not shrink. He will not disappear. He will not recede. He will not fall away. He will come forth. And my brothers and sisters, that's what hope in God does. The hope that holds you in the midst of the devastation, grounds you in the belief that God has more in mind than what is. Your hope tells you that what is not all that there is. I need somebody to hear me right now. Maybe you might want to tweet that and make that a thread. What is not all that there is. God has more than what is in mind. God has more in terms of purpose. God has more in terms of days. And God has an outcome that is greater than the enemy's opportunity. There is an outcome that surpasses the access that the enemy has. What God has in mind must come forth. That who God sees you being must come forth. What God sees you doing must come forth. Where God sees you going must come forth. What God sees you producing must come forth. God has more in terms of purpose, and God has more in terms of days. The psalmist grabbed hold of this with the words of Psalm 27, I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord. and be of good courage, and he will strengthen your heart. Psalm 118, verses 17 through 18, the psalmist declares, I shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. The Lord has chastened me severely, but he has not given me over to death. Hope in God is able to hold you in the belief that God has more in mind. Hope put something in your mind as a refrain. This is not all that there is. This can't be all that there is. God must have more in mind. There must be something that God is doing. Got to be something that God is working. Got to be something that God is producing. Got to be something that God is preparing. God, whatever God says, it must happen. It must come forth. And you start saying, I must come forth. And when you fast forward to the end of the book of Job, you see Job did come forth. You'll see that the very people who falsely accused Job, they needed Job's intercession to spare their very lives. You'll see that Job has another marriage, and his marriage produces more children. And you'll see something about the quality of his children, because this time we're given the children's names. We're given the names of the daughters in particular, and each one of them speaks to a beauty, a comeliness, a pleasantness, a goodness, my God. In other words, what God produced in Job after the trial was of better quality than what he had before. Lord have mercy. He not only had more than what he had before, but he had better than what he had before. I hope somebody is hearing me who cannot see anything beyond what is. I just want you to grab hold, or let hope hold you. And let hope tell you that God has more than before, and God has better than before. That was the hope that held Jesus. Beyond what was that Jesus had to face, hope held Jesus. Beyond Judas's betrayal, beyond Peter's denial, beyond the disciples' flight, hope held Jesus. Beyond the people's false accusations, beyond the soldiers' brutality, hope held Jesus. Beyond the cross's heaviness and death's sting and the grave's coldness, help held Jesus. Beyond the heat of hell, beyond the intentions of the adversary, hope held Jesus to the fact that God had more in mind. What the enemy saw was opportunity. What the enemy saw was somebody betraying him, and others accusing him, and soldiers crucifying him. That's all that the enemy could see. But Jesus tried to tell him, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto. He tried to tell them what the outcome was. The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of sinful man, and be crucified, and be raised. Lord have mercy. On the third day, he tried to tell them what the outcome was, but they did not believe it, because all that they could see was the opportunity. But thanks be to God, God had the outcome secure in his hand. And that's why after Jesus died, and after he was buried, and after he descended into hell early Sunday morning, God raised Jesus from the dead, and he is alive forevermore. The hope that holds you is that when all that you can see is despair and tears and rubble and wreckage and darkness and isolation, there is a hope to God who is more, a hope to God who knows more, who has more in mind. And the hope holds you until you see God. The hope holds you until you see God in the midst of the situation. The hope holds you until you see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. The hope holds you until the laughter comes back. The hope holds you until the joy comes back. The hope holds you until the strength comes back. The hope holds you. Am I talking to anybody who can testify? The hope held me. The hope held me the next day. The hope held me the next week. The hope held me the next month. The hope held me the next year. Hope will hold you. Hope will hold you with the affirmation that God is making it better. That God is making it all right. that God is making it worth it. Hope holds you, tells you, don't you give up the fight. Hope reminds you joy will come in the morning. Joy will come in the sunshine if you can just hold on and let hope hold you until morning. God will bring you through. Oh, my brother, my sister, that is the benefit of being a child of Almighty God. You are held by a hope. You are held together by a hope. You are held until by a hope. And that hope lets you know it's going to get better. Fred Luter had to flee Louisiana, get to Georgia on last Sunday, but he's held together by hope that it's going to get better. Bernadine and Claire and Alex held together by a hope that says it's going to get better. Monday came, Tuesday came, Wednesday came, Thursday came, Friday came, Saturday came. It's now Sunday. He gives you day after day after day after day after day. And those days add up to week after week after week after week. And somebody can testify those weeks add up from week after week after week after week to month after month after month after month. You find yourself now coming to the first year or the second year or the third year or the 10th year. Because hope holds you together by a God who is more than what is.